Here are my Championship Game Week 3 predictions. Up first is Derby County versus Bristol City. Of course, Derby County started the season off conceding 8 goals in 2 games. They conceded 3 goals against Stoke City on the first game of the season, and then went at home to Coventry and conceded 5 goals, which, yes, Coventry have got a really good attacking team, but to concede 8 goals in the first 2 games of the season is certainly a problem. And then Bristol City, they started off the season very well. They beat Sheffield United 4-1, a very good way to start the season off. They then drew 0-0 to Charlton, which is interesting, especially at home, but Charlton probably going to be really good defensively this season. So yeah, Derby County conceding 8 goals in the first 2 games is a big issue, and for me, Derby County will score 2, but I'm going to go Derby County 2, Bristol City 3, and I think Derby County will concede 11 goals in the first 3 games of the season. Up next is Charlton versus Leicester. For me, this is one of the best games of the Championship this week. I think it's going to be really close, which is mental to say, considering at the start of the season, a lot of people thought Leicester would go away at Charlton and destroy them, which, I mean, definitely can happen, but I cannot see it happening personally. Charlton, a very, very good defence. I mean, they beat Watford 1-0 in the last minute at home at the Valley, which was an unbelievable atmosphere and an unbelievable result. And it's not even like Charlton were terrible. They then went away to Bristol City, one of the toughest grounds in the season, as we saw last season at Ashton Gate, and got a 0-0 draw. And it, like I've just said, it's not even like Charlton are just getting destroyed and just holding on. Charlton have been really good in the first 2 games of the season. Leicester City started the season off with a 2-1 victory at Sheffield Wednesday. Well, at Leicester's ground, but versus Sheffield Wednesday. Which, in all honesty, I'm not really too impressed with Leicester about that win, especially with everything going on at Sheffield Wednesday right now. To only win 2-1 is a little bit disappointing. But yeah, it's 3 points to start the season off, so no complaints. But they then went away to Preston and lost 2-1, which is very interesting. You know, a lot of people probably thought that was going to be a close game, but to lose is not great, to be honest. I don't think Leicester have been very good in the first 2 games of the season. They've also made no signings or very little signings to my knowledge. So yeah, I'm not too impressed with Leicester, and my score prediction for this game is going to be Charlton Athletic 1, Leicester City 1. Yeah, I do think Charlton will concede because Leicester's attack is just too good in my opinion. But a very, very good point if they can pull it off. Up next is Hull City versus Blackburn Rovers. As a Hull City fan, I'm really impressed with the start of the season. We then went away at Coventry to start the season off, one of the best sides in the league, and we looked very good defensively, if I'm being completely honest. A good clean sheet to start the season off at one of the toughest grounds. And then we went at home, a place that we've really struggled to win over the course of the last few seasons. We won 5 games at home in the 24/25 season. So I was really not... I mean, I was expecting us to win, but I was expecting it to be quite scrappy. We had 75% possession. Ollie McBurney, 2 assists, 1 goal. He was absolutely unbelievable. As Hull City won in the last minute from an Ollie McBurney winner. And it was 3-2 in the end. Yeah, we looked quite poor defensively, but to score 3 goals at home and win in your first home game of the season is very impressive. As for Blackburn, it's not been a great start, if I'm being completely honest. In the first game, they played West Brom for a 1-0 defeat. Not ideal, especially to start the season off that poorly, especially attacking-wise. They didn't really pose much threat for Blackburn. There was 1-0 up against there was 1-0 up against Birmingham in the 90th minute, but unfortunately for them, they conceded in the 90th minute and the 95th minute to lose the game 2-1 to Birmingham at home. Yeah, it's not a great result. However, I think there was some signs of positivity, especially with Todd Cantwell getting on the score sheet. But it's 2 defeats in a row to start the season off, which is just not good enough, unfortunately, especially for a team that was on in the playoffs on the final game of the season at certain points. So my score prediction for this game, Hull City being at home and the confidence, unbeaten so far in our first 2 games. I'm going to go for another win. I'm going to go Hull City 2, Blackburn Rovers 1. Which would be a very, very good win. Up next is Swansea versus Watford. Swansea started the season off with a 1-0 defeat to Middlesbrough, but then they bounced back with a 1-0 victory over Sheffield United. Sheffield United didn't even have a shot on target, which clearly shows Swansea were definitely the dominant team in that game. Watford, on the other hand, lost 1-0 to Charlton Athletic in the last minute on the first game of the season, which isn't ideal, especially as Charlton Athletic were favourites to finish 24th this season. Watford did bounce back, to be fair to them. They beat QPR 2-1, and it was also a very solid performance against a team that will probably be around them at the end of the season. So, my score prediction for this game is Swansea 1, Watford 1. I think it's going to be a very close game where both teams don't really show a lot, but they both score in the end. So, my score prediction is 1-1. Up next is Birmingham City versus Oxford United. Birmingham have started the season off very promising. They got a 1-1 draw against Ipswich on the first game of the season at St Andrews. And in all honesty, they absolutely battered them. I do not even understand how Ipswich Town got a point in that game. Birmingham City did struggle against Blackburn Rovers. However, the fact that they won the game 2-1 in the end really shows that Birmingham City are going to be a top team this season. That even though they're not playing well, they're still managing to get the 3 points, which is really crucial. On the other hand, Oxford United have started the season off terribly. They lost 1-0 at home to Portsmouth on the first game of the season, which is not great, especially as Portsmouth are arguably on their level this season. They then went away at Hull City, a team that has won 5 games all season. 5 home games all season last season, and to lose 3-2 and have 25% possession all game really shows that they were very poor in that game and just didn't really pose much threat. Yes, they scored 2 goals, but that was more just defensive errors. And in the second half, there was only one team that was pushing for the winner, in my opinion. So my score prediction for this game is going to be Birmingham City 4, Oxford United 1. I don't think it's going to be close at all. Maybe Birmingham City give Oxford a few chances, but in the end, I'm going to go for a dominant 4-1 victory for Birmingham. Up next is Coventry versus QPR. Coventry started the season off with a 0-0 draw at home to Hull City, as I previously mentioned in this video. They then followed it up with a 5-3 victory away at Derby County. Absolutely unbelievable attacking performance. Scoring 5 goals away at any side in the league is very impressive. On the other hand, QPR haven't started the season off the best. They drew 1-1 to Preston, which is respectable in all honesty, but then followed it up with a 2-1 defeat to Watford, which isn't great if I'm being completely honest. But the fact that Coventry scored 5 goals in the last game makes me think that it's going to end 0-0. Honestly, I think it's going to end 0-0. The first home game of the season for Coventry, it was 0-0 against Hull City. So I do think this game will end 0-0. I don't know why. Next up is Norwich versus Middlesbrough. Norwich started the season off really poorly, losing 2-1 to Millwall at home. Yes, Millwall are a tough team to beat and very good, but to lose 2-1 at home isn't ideal. They then followed it up nicely with a 2-1 victory over Portsmouth with 2 early goals. And then on the other hand, Millwall have won both of the games with 2 clean sheets, defeating Swansea 1-0 in the first game of the season at home, and then followed up with a 3-0 away win at Millwall. Very unexpected and just a brilliant performance overall. Rob Edwards, very good start. Can he continue it? And in my opinion, I think he will. I'm going to go Norwich City 3, Middlesbrough 4. Yes, Middlesbrough have kept 2 clean sheets to start the season off, but I think it's just going to be goals in this game. So yeah, my score prediction is 4-3. Next up is Preston versus Ipswich. Preston have started the season off really good. They drew 1-1 to QPR, which was a decent point in all honesty. And then they followed it up with a 2-1 victory over Leicester. On the other hand, Ipswich haven't actually won a game this season, but they have played their 2 toughest teams in the league. So, can't really complain there. A lot of people have got Preston to win this game, but I actually don't think they will. I'm going to go Preston 1, Ipswich Town 2. Yes, Preston's start to the season has been really impressive, but I think the run's going to end here. Next up is a big one. It's Sheffield United versus Millwall. Sheffield United's start to the season has been tragic. They lost 4-1 to Bristol City on the first game of the season at home, which was terrible. They then followed up with a 1-0 defeat to Swansea with 0 shots on target in the entire 90 minutes, which is just embarrassing. With the squad they've got, yes, the squad depth isn't great, but the first team is just unbelievable. So to lose in that manner against Bristol City and then 0 shots on target versus Swansea is very poor, to say the least. Millwall started the season off with a 2-1 victory over Norwich, but then followed up with a 3-0 defeat to Middlesbrough. So not the best start for Middlesbrough, but also not the worst. I think for me, I cannot back Sheffield United. I just cannot. With the form they're on and how they've been playing, I'm going to go Sheffield United 0, Millwall 1 to continue this awful form for Sheffield United. Next up is Southampton versus Stoke City. Southampton have started the season off pretty good. They won 2-1 away at Wrexham, scoring 2 late goals in the end, and a very attacking and just dominant performance from Southampton. In the second game, they then drew 1-1 to Ipswich Town. Ipswich Town was probably the better team in the second half, so to come away with a point away from home is impressive. So not a bad start for Southampton, and on the other hand, we all know Stoke City's start. A 3-1 victory over Derby County away from home to start the season off. And then in the second game, they went to Sheffield United and won 3-0. So a very good start to say the least for Stoke City. And can they continue it? For me, they just can't. I'm going to go Southampton 4, Stoke City 2. Yes, I think it's going to be a really high-scoring game, but yeah, I'm going to go Southampton to win. Next up is West Brom versus Portsmouth. West Brom started the season off with a 1-0 victory over Blackburn Rovers at home. They then followed up with a 3-2 victory over Wrexham, so good start for them. On the other hand, Portsmouth started the season off with a 1-0 away victory at Oxford United, but then followed up with a 2-1 defeat to Norwich. For me, this is going to be a really low-scoring game, but I'm going to go West Brom 1, Portsmouth 0. The final game is Wrexham versus Sheffield Wednesday. Wrexham haven't started the season the best, to be completely honest. There was 1-0 up in the 90th minute against Southampton, but ended up losing 2-1. They then lost 3-2 to West Brom and wasn't really the better team in any of them games. Sheffield Wednesday, though, they lost 2-1 to Leicester City and then lost 3-0 to Stoke City. It's just been a terrible start for them. I don't think Wrexham are going to batter them, but I do think Wrexham wins, so I'm going to go Wrexham 1, Sheffield Wednesday 0.